Welcome to She Lancer, Mom Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Angela Olfest, otherwise known as VoiceOver Angela. In this podcast, we talk about my adventures in freelancing, my voiceover business, and everything else in between. Let's get started. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again for another live Q&A session, community chat. I appreciate you guys spending some time with me and everyone in the chat today. It means a lot, so I appreciate you. If you're new here, then welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel here on YouTube is dedicated to those of you just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you some tips and tricks and techniques and things that I do every day in my own voiceover business. And we get together weekly in these community chats to talk about some things and answer some questions that I get a lot. If you're not new here, then you know that every week we have a new poll. And this week, the poll is, how comfortable are you with meeting ACX standards for audiobooks? This is a question I'm getting an awful lot right now in regards to tweaking your files that in a way that works for you and your DAW, your digital audio workstation, and your recording space, your skill level. There's a lot of variables there. So I try my best to answer these questions as best as I can. But I have found a way that works for me in my DAW with Adobe Audition. And I'm going to be showing you some things today that you can hopefully apply to your situation that might help some standards that I've set for myself in getting to the end point, which is ACX standards. So let's check the poll really quick. We've got, they're still coming in, 26 votes so far. It looks like half of you said I beat them very easily every time. So that's good. That's really good. I'm really glad. Hopefully my videos have helped you. Probably not, but I appreciate you guys anyway. 22% of you said I meet them with some difficulty, which I thought that number would have been much higher, to be honest. 77%, I hardly meet them. And then 19% of you, what are ACX standards? Well, let's start there. So if you're working with audiobooks or planning to produce audiobooks, then most of us start out with ACX, which is the platform in which Audible uses to match or to connect rights holders or authors, publishers, the owners of the book rights, with narrators. And then they come together and come to an agreement in terms of pay and duration. And then the narrator will then produce the audiobook that is then in turn put on to Audible. So, the standards for ACX, you can find all of this information on ACX's website. Everything that I'll be talking about today, just if you wanted to go back later and just double check things. Their FAQ page is amazing. Everything you want to know is right there in their FAQ page. But basically, your audiobook files need to be in MP3 form. Okay, they can't be WAV. They need to be in MP3. They also need to be either mono or stereo, one or the other. But whichever form you choose, whether it be whether it be stereo or mono, they have to be consistent. Every file has to be the same. Every file needs to be stereo, or every file needs to be mono. The peak volume cannot go any higher than -3. That's what they mean by peak of -3 dB. The RMS, which is an easy way, it's a complicated way of just saying basically the average volume of your dialogue needs to fall between -18 and -23 dB. And then also your noise floor. And I'm going to show you all of this stuff quickly in a little bit. But the noise floor is just the ambient sound or volume of noise, of ambient noise in your room. And everybody's got, depending on your situation, everyone's got a natural noise floor in their recording space. And that the final noise floor result needs to be below, at or below -60 dB. If you naturally have just no noise, if you're lucky enough to have a recording booth, like a whisper room or a Studio Bricks, then you'll probably find that your noise floor is going to be naturally very low. But most of us, I have found, through my wanderings and my circles in the voiceover industry, a lot of us have just converted closets, like myself. I just use a little weird room that was available in my house, and that's what I use. So it might take a little bit more effort to get to a negative 60 dB noise floor, because if you've got your computer in the room with you, if you've got LED lights going, there could be a number of factors causing a high noise floor. But I can feel the tangent coming on, so I'm going to rein myself back in. And we'll get into, you know what we're going to do? Should I go through? I think I'll go through my Adobe Audition first, and then we'll get to the questions. All right, so let's see if I can do this sort of seamlessly. I probably won't, because if you guys know me at all, technology. I really need 2 monitors for this, but we'll see. All right, so I'm going to go to full screen, and then I'm going to close this window. So this is a demo of Sleepy Hollow. I think I've used this before in my last video that I posted. But anyway, I just narrated a quick little paragraph just to show you guys the different elements that I was just referring to. So this is me recording. I've got no effects applied. So if your noise floor looks like mine, which is down here, this bright color down here at the bottom, don't be distraught. I mean, this is fixable, right? So basically, to check your noise floor, I've got a lot of mouth noise in here too. How embarrassing. Well, see, everybody gets it, right? So to check your noise floor for whatever DAW you're using, if you can select a piece of your file of just noise, not noise, but the ambient volume or sound of your room, this is the dialogue over here. This is just ambient noise. And a good habit to get into is either at the start before you start recording or at the end. Just let a little bit of, just don't say anything. Keep recording, but just don't say anything. So you have a nice little chunk of room tone that you can work with later if you have to. So nice. Thank you. Okay, so to check your noise floor, you just select a little segment of room tone, and then let me hide this down here so you can see and make this a little bit bigger so you can see. This is my volume bar down here. So if I hit play, my natural noise floor is peaking right around 57.5 dB, negative 57.5 dB. So I'm not too far away from negative 60. So it's going to take a little bit of work, just a little bit, to get it under negative 60. But keep in mind that this is the raw file. So after I apply my noise reducers, my de-esser, my mouth declick, my EQ, my equalizer, anything that you're applying to it, and then normalizing to -3, when you're normalizing to -3, that's going to increase the volume of everything, including your noise floor, including, the ambient noise of your room. So keep that in mind. So the end result needs to meet all of those standards, not at the start. So we know that we need to get below -60. So what I'm going to do is, I probably should have just processed this, but I wanted to show you guys that my room probably looks just like yours to start with, right? Another standard that I'm going to show you is really quick. Let's just pretend that this is processed, right? Actually, I could probably do that really quick. Let me just process this. So I have an effects rack, and I've mentioned this many, many times in other videos where I have a list of presets that I use to accentuate my voice, to reduce the noise floor that I've got, to reduce some of the natural sibilance that I have to my voice. And I've got a couple of videos where I show you how to build this and save it. So that way you can apply the same rack to your file time and time again to each file, so they all sound the same. They all are consistent sounding across each file. So now that I've got my rack applied, as you can see, it reduced my noise floor quite a bit, right? There's a little click or something in there. So it's peaking at -69. So Once I normalize it, I should be fine. I should be right within range, but let's check it. So anyway, before I start editing, I will apply my rack and then I'll edit it once. I'll go through it one time just to make sure that I get all of the retakes out, any big breaths that need to be removed. I'll do that at this time. But before I do that, I'm going to grab a little bit of room tone, and I have my little duration marker over here. I'm going to grab about, I don't know, let's just grab about 7.7 seconds. And then I'm going to copy that. And I know that's nice, clean room tone. We just checked it out. It's at -69. So I'm going to use this little bit of room tone to paste in at the head and at the tail of my file, because that is another requirement for ACX. The narration at the very beginning needs to start somewhere between, if I can get to it, 5.5 a second and a second. I'm sorry, guys, I'm flustered. So the narration needs to start somewhere between this range. So as you can see, I've got a ton of just dead air in here. So I'm just going to select all of this dead air and then paste in that room tone that I know is at 0.7. So I know it's right between 0.5 and 1 second. So there we go. There's the head of my file. And I've already edited this thing, so there's no need to go through it. And as you can see, there are breaths in there. You can actually see the breaths in the spectral display. And I get a lot of questions about breaths. Breaths are fine. We breathe. We're humans. We breathe. Breathe. Just, it's okay to breathe. Just breathe. If it's a big, like, breath, like after a long sentence or a long paragraph, or if you got a little bit of a throat gargle or something going on, then yeah, take that out. But leave the breaths in, the normal, natural breaths that we take every day when we're speaking out loud. Leave those in. They're perfectly fine. So at the end of my file, I need between a second and 5 seconds of room tone. So I'm going to take that same room tone that I copied earlier and just paste in enough until I get to somewhere between a second and 5 seconds. So looking at my duration here, I'm at about a little over 2 seconds. So I'm going to add just one more. And then now I'm at 2.8. That's fine. Somewhere around 3 seconds is where I like to be. And then I keep that around 3 seconds for the tail, consistent through every file. So if you've ever listened to an audiobook, you probably have noticed that it'll autoplay, right? It'll go through chapter after chapter after chapter if you're listening for a long time. So then that pause between each chapter is about the same, right? And makes for a nicer listening experience. So if you keep this, whatever you decide to use, somewhere between a second and 5 seconds, about the same from file to file to file, it'll be a nicer listening experience. All right, so I've got this edited. I've got the retakes taken out. I've got it processed. I've got the appropriate amount of room tone at the head and tail of my file. So always your very last step is to normalize to -3. And that is on Adobe Audition in your favorites right here, and normalize to -3. And then that is always your last step. So I've got it on a hotkey, so I'm just going to hit that. All right, so once we have normalized, I'm going to do my checks. So with Adobe Audition, you can click Amplitude Statistics. And if you don't have that visible to you, you can go to your window and just make sure that this is checked, Amplitude Statistics. And it might pop up in a little separate pane. You can just grab it and drag it to wherever you want it to be. I like it to live right next to my effects rack because it just makes it easy to find. So we're going to scan this file. And the only two numbers I'm going to be looking at in Amplitude Statistics to check my RMS and my peak are these two, peak amplitude and total RMS amplitude. So my peak amplitude is exactly at -3 dB, which is perfect. We don't want to be in the 2s because that's too high. But even if it's -3.38 or 0.50, that's still fine. It just can't go any higher. It cannot eclipse -3. The other number, total RMS amplitude, this is the RMS that I spoke of earlier, the average volume of your dialogue. It cannot be outside of -18 to -23. And as you can see, my file is at -20.45, which is perfectly in the middle. So I don't have to do anything else other than just double check my noise floor, right? So I know everything else is right. Let's check the noise floor to make sure that it's low enough. And, things are going to change from day to day to day. So it's good to always check every file just to be sure. So let's just check this one. And as you can see, this is a little bit, actually, no, it's right below -60. So we're at -62. I don't have my glasses on. So it's at -62, roughly, maybe a little bit above. So we are under the -60 requirement. So that works perfectly fine. And when I hear a lot of people ask about not being able to get the RMS quite right, a lot of people tend to tell me that you're falling in the like -23, -26, -27. And that tells me that the recording volume, your input gain from your microphone into your interface is too low. You want to fall somewhere between, um, probably should have showed you that before I did everything else, but my recording volume is somewhere between, these are really small, -18 and -12. Actually, I think it's more like -15. So when you're recording, you're doing a test file just to test your volume. Turn up the gain on your interface or on your microphone until your input gain is somewhere between -15 and -12. That usually will get you to the right end result for your RMS. Now, keep in mind that when you're speaking, you're going to have a lot of lows in your voice and a lot of highs in terms of volume, right? That's what all these peaks are. Or even in like a sharp consonant, like an A, right? It'll make a sharp peak. Now, if you have a lot of sharp peaks, and I've got one that's sort of right here, higher than most, this one here is also higher than most, those peak will throw off that average volume. So to control those, I add a little bit of compression to my effects rack. And that will help control some of those, errant highs and then the super lows. What it'll do is sort of bring the two closer together, right? It'll bring your highs a little bit lower and your lows a little bit higher. So everything's a little bit more consistent in volume, which, of course, then in turn helps to control your RMS to get everything a little bit more uniform in volume, which is essentially what RMS is. So that way the listener is not constantly trying to turn up the volume or turn down the volume, right? It's a consistent volume across the board. And in a pinch, if you have to, I don't recommend using a hard limiter. What I recommend you do, if there's only a couple little errant peaks like I have here, if they were a problem for me, they're not. But if they were, I would just grab it and bring down the volume just so it's under that -3 mark. Or if it's a hard consonant like an A or something, you could even sort of dull it down a little bit, right? So that removes some of that sharp peak. Any which way you want to do it. But if you can get the right harmony between compression and input gain, then you should naturally fall between the ranges for the RMS. It might take a little bit of trial and error. Lord knows it took me quite a long time to figure out the harmony of all the effects working together to get it right. But that work, that trial and error work, is definitely worth your time, because once you have all of the sweet spots sort of dialed in and you have the right process down, then you just use that on file to file to file to file, and you'll save yourself so much time. So cool. Let's go back to, I know this isn't slick at all, but I'm going to go back to just me and get to the questions. I'm sure there are some from what I just went through fairly quickly. I hope that helped. I hope that made sense. But let's get to the comments. And I do need to go like exactly in about 40 minutes. It's a half day at school and I'm already going to be late, but because, the time changes everywhere but Arizona. Caesar's here. Motorcycle guy's outside. I don't know if you guys can hear him. There was a time when I couldn't meet ACX standards for a number of reasons. Now I can. This is why sound isolation and room treatment is so important ahead of getting proper equipment. Yes, that is another question I get a lot. What kind of equipment do I need to get? Is this microphone better than this microphone? And then to Caesar's point, your room, the treatment of your room is much more important than the microphone you choose in the very beginning. Because the microphones are, I mean, even the USB ones are just amazing. The technology advancements, of course, USB mics are phenomenal, right? I mean, they just get better every year. But the treatment of your room is much more important, meaning that you have soft surfaces in your room, right? That it's not, you're not talking into a large bedroom unless you have maybe some like DIY sound panels all over the room, or the whole room is just treated, right? That also might take a little bit of trial and error to get right, but also worth the time, because once you have that set up, then you just come into your booth and record your stuff and be done, right? It's worth the time and effort it takes to get things right in the beginning, instead of having to tweak and put band-aids on things and then just essentially just ruin the sound of your voice over time. It's worth the time and effort to get all of these processes and your room treatment down at the start. Caesar then says, of course, noise floor is only one aspect of meeting ACX standards. Everything else can be easily met with a little technical understanding and plenty of common sense. Well, you forget, Caesar, that not everybody's as technically advanced as you are. Everything that I was looking at in the beginning was just a complete foreign language to me. So none of it made sense. I didn't know what anything meant. I didn't know what all the acronyms are. I didn't know what the effects did, or how to control them, how to manipulate them, right? Which ones work together in harmony, and all of this stuff you can definitely learn with the help of an audio engineer, or if you just watching YouTube videos. Mike Russell here on YouTube is just amazing at some of this technical stuff. He goes over, I believe, Audacity, Reaper, and then of course Adobe Audition, and then a few other Adobe products. So I've watched a lot of his stuff, and he's helped tremendously in that respect. Caesar then says, that said, hello, Angela. Hello, Caesar. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is preparing their stomachs for Thanksgiving and preparing their wallets for Black Friday. Yeah, I don't do the Black Friday thing anymore. It's just, once I started to notice that stores were marking up stuff just to then give you a sale price, I was like, that's okay. I'll just, buy things throughout the year and call it good. Melissa says, good morning, Angela, Caesar, and everyone. Hope you're all doing well today. Yes, doing great. Glad to have you. Dylan. What's up, Dylan? Good afternoon, all. My first book I didn't know and couldn't hit the RMS floor. Caused a ton of frustration, but I was very new to recording. Building a stack with RX10 and noise reduction was essential. Yes, having the right effects for your situation is going to save you so much time. And again, in the beginning, you don't know what does what or what you need, or you don't even know the existence of the isotope, RX suite. And you're just like, oh my God, I can't get this done. I can't do it. But with a little bit of digging, if you reach out to people who are doing this, there's a lot of hands, extended to help you. So you just have to take them and ask questions. So, or get a coach or a mentor who knows the DAW that you're using, and ask them questions, or ask them to show you these things. Melissa then says, this is my second live chat I've been able to join, and I'm so excited to learn something new. I've been watching your videos for over a year now, along with Anthony Pica, Bill DeWeese, and a few others. I am just flattered to be mentioned along with those names. My little videos are just, me trying to help as much as I can, and to be mentioned in the same sentence with Bill DeWeese and, my buddy Anthony is just so flattering in itself. So I appreciate that. I'm glad they help. Caesar says, noise reduction is great, Dylan. I almost didn't recognize you. Where'd you get it done? I hear they do great work in Mexico for cheap. Nose reduction. Stop. Caesar says to Melissa, that's awesome. I reckon this would be my 16th live chat. I think it's more than that, Caesar. This is a great place to be in. Excellent for confidence building, too. I just tell it like it is, Caesar. You've got an amazing voice and amazing talent. Glowen says, good morning, good afternoon, good evening in the Maldives. Hope you're all having a good one and your coffee is fresh and hot. It is not. It's more like tepid and a few hours old. But you know what? I ain't throwing out good coffee. Meet ACX standards, but with some difficulty. Okay, well, I hope that what I just went through makes it a little bit more clear. And I think there might come a time in our platinum group that I might be able to, we're going to review Fiverr gigs this week, but maybe in December, maybe we can focus a little bit more on ACX standards in the group. We have this month all planned out, of course, but maybe next month we can go through some specifics. Tim Gleason says, hey all, looking forward to this session with Angela. I appreciate that, Tim. Glowen says, I owe this entirely to my cheap mic and a minor room issue I haven't figured out how to resolve. What is the room issue? Dylan says to Caesar, I absolutely need nose reduction, but I meant noise reduction. I fat fingered it. Fat finger when typing. And yeah. Phil says, hey, Angela, hey all. Hey, Phil. How you doing? Glad to see you here. MG Steven says, good morning, Angela and everyone. Rick Hall, hello, everyone. Miriam is here. Hello, Miriam. Good morning, group of VO friends. I will have to jump into a meeting in a half hour, so have a great rest of your day. Well, I hope you got to see at least, you should have at least got to see the first half, I hope. But enjoy the rest of your day, Miriam. Look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Phil says, I use Audacity and found a way to preset all the ACX requirements. So I just apply the macro and voila. That is cool. I didn't know. I know Audacity's come a long way and they've done a lot of updates to it over the last few years. So it's still impressive to me that it's free. Maybe we shouldn't, bolster it up so much or talk so much, about it. Otherwise they will start charging for it. But I'm glad that they have presets and macros that you can do. Or is that something that you built on your own with like a Stream Deck or something? Caesar says, so glad this intro music kicked in. I was listening to Yoko Ono and needed a palate cleanser. Rustic Hillbilly is here. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Rustic Hillbilly. Glad to see you. At home with Tom and Rhonda Howard. Good morning. Kyra's here. Good morning. I just found voiceover last week and also Angela's channel. So excited to dive in. My equipment is arriving from Amazon today. It's always a good day when it's new gear day. Love new gear. It gets addicting. Just ask Caesar. Be careful. You'll have a collection of mics before you know it. Foxy Lady says, hi, Angela. Look forward to learning from you today. Well, that's great. I hope you guys did. Hat is here. Good morning. Silky voiced peeps. I like that. The silky voiced peeps. Brian Mark Mitchell. Hey, Angela. Hey, Brian. How you doing? Christy Lynn, afternoon all. Sophie Ray Bishop, good morning. Joya's here. Joya says, in Reaper, there's an ability to set a preset for ACX standards on the mastering side. 2 clicks and poof, rendered perfect every time. Is that something that came with Reaper, or did you have to build that preset? And Reaper is another digital audio workstation recording software, much like Adobe Audition, which I just showed you guys, and Audacity. There's a handful of them. There's Studio One. There's a handful of these, but I would say the big 3 that I hear most often that people use are Reaper, Adobe Audition, and Audacity. That's what she means by Reaper. Dylan says, Angela, your videos did more than help. They are the only reason I'm making any money at all in this industry. Oh, stop. I discovered them my first week of trying this out and binged the whole back catalog. Interesting. Thank you. I'm glad they helped, Dylan. Sunny says, hi, Angela. Congrats. Oh, that's right. This is number 100. This live session is number 100. So we should celebrate that. That's awesome. I wish I had something cool like a giveaway or something, but that would have been awesome in hindsight. Tanya's here. Good morning. Good morning. She just signed up for mentorship. I'm excited to work with you. Caesar said, oh, is this an anniversary? We should make this an anniversary. Happy 100. Looking forward to saying happy 1000. Let's hope we can keep it going that long. You guys will probably get bored of me by then. Sophia says, does the bit make a difference? I know it has something to do with the amount of information or serpentine of the sort. Should we be recording for ACX in 16, 24, or 36? Or does it not matter? Thank you for bringing that up, because of course, in my head, while I was showing you guys my screen, I was thinking of all the things I needed to show you. And then, of course, I forgot a few things. But you can actually record, like as you're recording the actual narration, your sample rate and bit depth can be whatever you want them to be. But when you go through all the editing, you go through the effects, you go through the normalization and all the checks, and the file is perfect and it fits ACX's standards, you want to save that file as an MP3 at 44,100 hertz for the sample rate, and then also at 16-bit depth. So it doesn't really matter what you're recording in, just the end result needs to be 44,100 hertz for the sample rate, 16-bit depth, and MP3. And no, that's it. Is there one other thing? I think that's it. Something not serpentine. It's okay. We fat fingered it. We all have fat fingers. That's okay. Or autocorrect. Autocorrect is my nemesis. Lorna's Adventures at 50 says, good morning from Oregon. Crisp and sunny today. Beautiful break from recent rain. Yeah, your rain is heading our way, but that's okay. I'll take it. Your videos have helped me tremendously, especially with challenges. You are encouraging and informational. Oh, thanks, guys. I'm glad. Christy Lynn is here. Good morning, Christy Lynn. I meet them without difficulty now, but as you know, that wasn't always the case. And that's pretty much with everybody, I think. I don't know anybody who started out their first day and was like, yep, got it. So that's all completely normal. So anybody watching and you're like, man, I can't do it. I can't. Just keep at it and watch all of the videos. Watch everybody on YouTube that is talking about this topic. And something will click. Something you're like, oh, maybe I should try that. And you try that and then it works. And then you're like, yes. It takes work. It takes research. It takes trial and error, but you will get it if you stick with it long enough. Bear338 says, late, but made it. I hope you brought the donuts, Bear. You know how it goes. You arrive late, you bring the donuts. But we're good. I'm good anyway. Caesar says to Sophia, looks like that typo just snaked its way into your sentence. Oh, Caesar. Oh, hang on. We got a super chat. Oh, so many comments. Hat Powser. Oh, thank you. Happy 100, Angela. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Hat. I appreciate you. Makes me all self-conscious, but I appreciate you. That's so sweet. Yes. Okay. Let's get to, yeah, I'm lost. Hold on. Christy Lynn says, thank you, Hat. Christy Lynn says, of course your videos help. We have none of that stinking thinking today, ma'am. Good. No stinking thinking. No stinking thinking allowed. You should have a sign on the door of your studio that says, stinking thinking free zone. Caesar says to Bear, pretty good. Threw out my back this morning, bought an 11-yard roll of mass-loaded vinyl for soundproofing, and boy, this stuff is heavy as a tree trunk. Why don't you have help? Caesar. Bear to Caesar. Ouch, man. Get better. Back pain is no fun, especially when sitting for hours. Oh, yeah. Caesar says to Bear, tell me about it. I'll be fine, though. Excited to patch up the sound leaks in the studio. Laura says, thank you for your helpful tips, Angela. I want to try doing audiobooks in Spanish, which is my first language at ACX. I've already recorded some samples which need to be edited. Good. I hope this conversation today was timely and helps you. That's exciting. Good for you. Bear says to Caesar, I am hoping and praying to have my sound room built this weekend, then my microphone. I have my DAW picked, just need to install it on my computer. I am so ready to start. Good. Next time we meet next week, I want to hear that you have started. Don't just talk about it. Do. Don't should all over yourself. Get to it. Do. Don't think, don't should or could. Do. Caesar says to Bear, sweet. Very excited for you. Oh, we got another super chat. Hold on. Gregory. Thank you. You guys are so sweet. Oh, who's calling me? It's probably a scammer. Gregory says, here's to your 100th anniversary donuts. Oh, thank you. I am a donut maniac. I love donuts. But at my age, they're not worth They're not worth carrying around for months. If you know, you know. Caesar says to Bear, sweet, very excited for you. Dylan says to Bear, awesome. Record, 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 and edit your butt off. Even if it's just reading a children's book, practice makes perfect. You know, a better one I like is practice makes permanent, because we don't want to use perfect, because perfect is like subjective, right? I mean, it's going to be different for everybody, everybody's definition of perfect, and there is no such thing as perfect. Perfect is unattainable, unachievable. Don't shoot for perfect. Shoot for good or comfortable, right? Satisfaction. I'm satisfied with this. It's not perfect, but I'm satisfied. Caesar says, wow, I heard the motorcycle guy. My ears are sharpening. Or my Sennheiser just picks it up. He was pretty close outside too. Christy Lynn says, that's why I love the match loudness feature in Audition. Oh, yeah, for file after file. Sophia says, it boggles my mind sometimes. I'll record one audition and it passes fine. Then I'll record another right after, and it's a pain in the R's to get to pass. And that's kind of what I was getting to in the very beginning when I was talking about the noise floor, is that your room sound is in you even are going to change from day to day to day, and possibly even from hour to hour, depending on what's going on outside your house, within your house, where your voice is in terms of tiredness or how early, or you know what I mean? So there's going to be subtle differences between each file. That is why I always say to check each one. Even if the first one came out perfect, the second one, you process that and edit it and everything like that, still check it. Check all of them to make sure that they all meet ACX's standards, which it sounds like most of you are doing. Because it does change. It'll change from time to time. Even your proximity to your microphone could even change without you knowing. Maybe someone bumped into your microphone stand and it's a few inches further away from you than it was the first time you recorded. It could be really anything. So Brian says, Mike who? Oh, Mike Russell? Mike Russell on YouTube. Russell, I believe. If you search Mike Russell, users Mike Russell, you'll see he's I think he's got red hair, kind of a British guy. He's also a voice actor and audio engineer. He's got a lot of great information on his channel, I think that's what you're asking. Bear says, Angela, I'm so happy I found you and got proper direction. I am buying the PVC pipe and blankets this weekend, getting the mic second, trying Reaper and Audacity. Nice. And that is something I also say to do. Test drive the different DAWs or recording software that's available out there, because most of them will have like a free trial if they're like a paid subscription, like Adobe Audition. I think they give you either a 7 or a 14-day trial, but try them, test drive them, see which one speaks to you and which one is a little bit easier to understand and look at, because this is what you're going to be looking at day after day after day, month after month, year after year. So you want to make sure that this is something that makes things easier for you to do things, right? It's more intuitive and you can understand it and enjoy looking at it. JCCAOL says, I can't say I support Black Friday. I just think people should be at home with their families. Agreed. Caesar says to Brian, Mike Russell, thank you. He's great for learning Audition and sound engineering. Thank you, Caesar. Brian says, I just searched him and saw him in a video yesterday. Yeah, he's great. Glowen says, I have that big opening behind my chair. I think it's letting in too much noise, but I lack sufficient way to block it in. Just shove a sweater or something in there. Shove a towel or a blanket or something in there. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to sound good, right? Sophia says, I need to learn how to do a stack or preset on Audacity. Caesar or somebody, does anybody know that's watching right now, or Joya even, do any of you guys know how to make a preset on Audacity? Hat says 100. Yes. Congratulations on being 100. I'm not 100. No, but that's awesome. I didn't even think about it until it was mentioned. Yeah, you're right. This is the 100th episode. Crazy. Brian says your information is special gift enough. Oh, stop. Glowen says 100. Everybody smash that like button and leave a comment. It helps her algorithm. More coffee money for Angela. Yes. Yay. Not only that, but then if you tell the algorithm you like it, then YouTube will show it to more people who are searching for this kind of information. And hopefully we can help somebody from falling on their face in the very start, right? They can hopefully find some of my videos that will help them, which I'm hoping helped you. So help my algorithm find more of us just getting started. Joya says, in Reaper, you can make presets in every aspect of the program. It's the only DAW you can micro customize. I have a hair right in my face. And program with the support of the Reaper creators. The formatting preset is Booth Junkie's idea. Of course it is. I'm not shocked by that. That's cool. That is cool. Caesar says, I smashed the like button. Now I have this enormous spiderweb pattern on my monitor. Not literally, Caesar. Brian's asking Caesar, I'm guessing, how much did that 11-yard vinyl of cost? Brian says, how many samples for ACX is ideal to start with? You're not limited into the number that you can submit. There's no cap as far as I know. But the trick is to make maybe 5 in 5 different genres or 5 different tones. So they're all a little bit different. And then upload them, like pepper them in. Upload 2 on a Monday, 2 more on a Tuesday, and then that last one on Wednesday. And then maybe Friday or the following Monday, take them all back down. And hopefully by then you have a few auditions you can add to your sample list, and then post them again. Because as soon as you post a sample on ACX, you're up at the top. They're posted chronologically. So if you're up at the top, you want to stay at the top by recycling your samples and then adding new ones and then taking down the ones that maybe you don't like anymore. Because naturally, as we go, we just inherently get better sounding because we improve our sound quality. We get better at our performance, right? So you can sort of recycle and refresh your sample as you go, but there's no cap. So you can have 10, 20, 30. Of course, the more you have there, the wider of a net you're casting to find the author that is looking for your voice, right? So the more, the better. Kamikaze says, Angela, how you doing? Great to see you. Happy 100. Thank you so much. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Glowen says, in the wise words of Yoda, there is no try. There is only do or do not. Exactly. Bear says, I hate it when I should myself. Yeah, don't should all over yourself. Just do. Do it. Caesar says, just under $100 at Brian, to Brian. Oh, for the vinyl. Sophia says, I love making sourdough. Oh, God, don't. Good thing I have my headphones in, or my kids would be stop everything to make some donuts. Now I'm gonna have to go get donuts. Brian says to Caesar, thanks. Did you order off of Amazon? Sophia says, well, that's good to know that I'm not going crazy yet. Everybody runs through these same situations, these same steps in the journey. And at the very beginning, we all go through that frustration, tearing at our hair. Why doesn't this work? I mean, if it comes down to before pulling your hair out of your head, then you might have to reach out to an audio engineer or to someone uses your DAW on a daily basis, and reach out to them and ask them, hey, this is what I've got going on. How do I fix this? I mean, what do you recommend that I do? Ask for help. It's available to you. Don't go crazy. Joy's here. Hi, Joy. She is definitely a person that her name perfectly sums up her personality. She is just Joy. Hello, Angela and everyone from 50 Degree in sunny Southfield, Michigan. Unfortunately, I'm still working on getting set up in ACX, moving slowly because of other projects I have. And it's going to take the time that it needs to take, right? There's no pressure. Obviously, the more you get done, the sooner you're going to see results, right? The faster you do the work, usually the faster you start to see results or return on your investment of time, right? But it's going to take the time that it needs. So get your other projects done, and it'll happen when it happens. Caesar says to Brian, excuse me, not local supplier, but they're totally available on Amazon. Price varies widely depending on length and thickness. Joya says, I now understand why Audition users complain about editing. It takes so long compared to the programmability of Reaper. I like my audition. I don't complain about editing time. It just took a while to get there. Plus, I think Joy is just naturally gifted, like Caesar. Eric's here. Hey, Eric, congrats on 100, my friend. Proud to say I've been here since the beginning. Yes, you have. Before the beginning. Let's see the next 100. Oh, you're so sweet, Eric. Christy Lynn says, I didn't care for Audacity and Reaper. Too complicated for me to enjoy doing it. I've never used Reaper, so I don't have an opinion on Reaper, but I'm from Audacity to Audition. I love Audition. Joy says 100% awesome. Brian says to Caesar, does this supplier hang out on the street corner? Trench coat, cigarette, sunglasses, and huge tube. Oh, God. Creepy. Mary HPVO. Slow down, Ange. Happy Tuesday. ACX is the best starting place. Once you get those standards down, other sites are less intimidating for sure. Yes, audiobooks, if you start with audiobooks, everything else after is just cake. Because audiobooks are the hardest to do. They take the most time. They are the most, the formatting requirements are the most specific. So everything you do after them is just so much easier. MG Steven says, briefly, in Audacity, you go into Tools, Macro Manager, and then you can add your effects and save under a name, and then select that under Tools, Apply Macro. Thank you for that, MG. So for all you Audacity users, screenshot that and use that to make a preset in Audacity. Caesar says to Brian, absolutely, he gives you a yard for free, and when you're hooked, he sticks you with the invoice. It's the way it always goes, though. It's the way it always goes. Joy says, can you rotate your samples on ACX to keep things going? Absolutely rotate them. Absolutely. Move them around. Because, again, as soon as you post one, you're at the top of the search. So ideally, you want to stay at the top. So whatever interval you choose, whether it's weekly, monthly, whatever it is, just make sure that you're rotating your samples and keeping yourself up at the top. Because authors are, if they choose to search for their own narrator, if you can imagine, they're probably ear tired by the time they get to page 6 or 7. So you don't want to be on page 6 or 7 or 8. You want to be at 1 or 2, right? So keep your samples fresh and at the top. JCC AOL says, I like your coffee mug. Oh, yes. This was the one that I bought this year. This is my Edward Scissorhands mug. Yes, this was my new purchase for this year from the Halloween Spirit Store. I have to buy a new mug every year. Thank you, though. Christy Lynn says, practice makes better. That's another way of saying it. Brian says, laughing out loud to Caesar. Christy Lynn says, no, match loudness makes the audio within the file match the settings you input. I see what you're saying. Because match loudness, if you're trying to match the volume from file to file to file, I guess that's what I was thinking of, that you match the presets. So if you're telling your system, I want this file to be at these standards or these preset numbers, right? There's a lot of ways to do it, but the way that I showed you guys is the way that I do it with the least resistance and trouble. I tried to make it as simple as I could, but there's probably a few other things that you need to do. What works for me obviously might not work exactly for you, and you might need to make a few tweaks, but those are the basics, right? So you might need a little bit more EQ. You might need a little bit more noise reduction. You might need, there's just so many variables to your space, your setup, your equipment, your voice. So if what I did at least maybe points you in the right direction, then my job is done. But you might need a little bit of extra help for your particular situation. Gregory says, the Great Voice Company takes you through a thorough training process on how to set macros in Audacity to process on every recording so it meets ACX standards. It cost a pretty penny, but well worth it. I bet. Kamikaze says, yeah, I took a detour for a bit. I got signed by a boutique agency. I've been auditioning for non-VO work, but I feel better doing voice behind the camera. If it was you, would you just stick with VO? No, I do everything that you're comfortable with doing, right? Because even as a voice actor, you don't have to just stick with VO and nothing else. If you can make an income doing anything else in addition to voiceover, wouldn't you do it? Of course. Absolutely. Because if you don't know, I also resell books. I also edit podcasts. There's a lot of stuff that I have my fingers in for additional streams of income. in addition to my voiceover work. It's good to have a diverse, diverse streams of income, right? You want multiple streams of income. Why not? Because when one is slow, then you still have something else coming in. Of course, do it. If you're comfortable with it, do it. Brian says RX has a loudness module. The Isotope suite of plugins has been just gold for me. They have, if you go to Isotope, izotope.com, if you go to their RX audio repair suite, there's 3 different packages there. There's the Elements, Standard, and Advanced. And I would say especially if you have a sticky mouth like me, the middle package, the standard package, and the advanced package have a mouth declick, which is just magic for reducing the mouth noise, right? That we just have, especially if you're a coffee drinker and have dairy and things like that you're not supposed to. In addition to that, there's also like a de-reverb, there's like a DS, de-plosive, there's all kinds of plugins in there that are fabulous. And I'm so glad that I purchased them. Sophia says, now I could go for Isotope Black Friday deal. Oh, is there a Black? There usually is this time of year. And that goes for not only Isotope, but waves.com, those Waves plugins. They'll usually have a sale around this year, around Black Friday. Also, like voices.com, Voice123, a lot of those membership casting pay-to-play sites will have deals on Black Friday or around Black Friday. So keep your eyeballs peeled for those. And if you want to try one of these casting sites at a lower rate just for the year, then try it. Kamikaze says, yes, of course. I just have to manage my time. Prioritize. Managing time is not easy. Joya says, please tell everyone Isotope has a music production suite that includes RX10 for $20 a month, and you get even more goodies. I didn't know that, Joya. Amazing what we all learned together here in our little community chat. Thanks, Joya. Glowin says, I'm holding out for Black Friday deal on the Rode NT1 signature mic. That one's going to be cool. A bunch of different colors, right? Or am I thinking of something else? Can't wait to replace my cheapo BM800. Sophia goes, oh, I know, right? That is great, Joya. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that either. And it's called, we got to go back to this for a second, Music Production Suite. There we go. Screenshot that. I already have all of those goodies, so there's no sense in me making the change. But for those of you that have, are maybe in that place where you're like, okay, I got to get some plugins, that might be something to go look at, worthwhile to go look at. Caesar says the signature line is the one with the different colors. Okay. Making sure I'm remembering the right thing. Joy says, trust me, I keep my eyeballs peeled and my laptop on for Black Friday deals. For those deals, it's definitely worth taking advantage of Black Friday type deals for the casting site, reduced membership rates or deals on plugins and things. It's definitely worth keeping an eyeball peeled for. Sophia says, I need to get booked for something before I go buy more goodies. And I feel that. But any which way you go, if you buy goodies before you have money coming in, it's still going to be an investment in you and in your business at any point in your journey. It's an investment in you, in your audio quality, regardless of at what point you purchase them. So look at it that way, and that maybe you won't feel so guilty for buying them before you get booked, because it'll just help you to maybe sound better in that audition, right? Caesar says, might get the red one. Not that I need one. It's just pretty. Don't tell me there's a red one, because now I'm going to have to go get one. Red's my favorite color. Ugh. And then Brian says it's the tax write-off. Business tax write-off. Absolutely. All right, you guys, I have got to get going. I have to pick up the kiddo for it's a half day at school today, and I'm already behind. But he knows what I'm doing. So anyway, I'll see you guys next week. I love you all. Practice makes permanent. I'll see you guys all next week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate it. If you have an extra moment, please feel free to leave a review. We'll see you next time.